Greetings, it's Iain from RTL here. Welcome to another classic album review. And we've been looking at Rockabilly as chosen by my mate Lee. And today he chose, and he left it to the last, not a band that was out in the 50s, but an album that came out in 1981 by the Stray Cats, who were part of that Rockabilly revival in the late 70s, early 80s. Now the Stray Cats were formed in 1979 by Brian Setzer, Slim Jim Phantom and Lee Rocker. Now Lee Rocker and Slim Jim were friends at school, so they sort of met before they formed the band. So they were all from a little place called Massapequa or Massapequa in Long Island, and when they started appearing in New York in the middle of '79, they performed under a number of names, including the Tomcats, the Ted, Brian and the Tomcats. And according to Brian, they said they changed their names to fool club owners who would hire the same band for consecutive nights. They kept the name the Cats in the moniker, and then they went on to just be called Stray Cats. So the album we're going to look at is their debut album, just called Stray Cats, and it was released here in the UK in 1981 and produced by the band and the one and only Mr. Dave Edmunds. So it's Brian Setzer on guitar and vocals, Slim Jim Phantom on the drums, Lee Rocker on the double bass and bass. Additional musicians on here, Gary Barnacle plays saxophone. So the first track is the classic, and it's one of the first tracks I heard by them, and it's Runaway Boys. That classic double bass from Lee Rocker. Brilliant. Very simple drumming from Jim. Great guitar work from Brian. It's just a classic now. Brilliant track. Then we have another great track, Fishnet Stockings. Now, this was written by Brian, but it's got the classic sounding 1950s rockabilly, that really definitive double bass, stand-up bass sound. There's very simple drumming, rim on the rims, brilliant. Some great guitar work from Brian. Then they do a cover of what is known as a sort of a standard rockabilly, covered by many artists, written by Charles Underwood, first recorded by Warren Smith in 1956, and it's the Ubangi Stomp. Absolutely brilliant, and I would say this is one of the best versions of this song you'll ever hear. Then they do a cover of an Eddie Cochran song, Jeanie, Jeanie, Jeanie. It was a minor hit for Eddie, but and it was released after his death, of course. But I love Eddie's version of it, but this is a brilliant version of it. Great song. Brian does a great vocal, and the guitar work is very good. Then we have this song called Storm the Embassy. It's based on a song that called Boys Having Babies, which is from Brian's previous band, and it's also rewritten about the Iran hostage crisis of 79 and 80. It's alright. I don't like political songs. Then we have a great song, Rock This Town. Brilliant song. One of my top 3 songs by the Stray Cats. I love this. I love the drumming on this. The simple bits of guitar are great. Then we have another song that made my top 10 Stray Cat songs, Rumble in Brighton. Absolutely brilliant. The Brian's guitar work on this is just top drawer. Proper rockabilly. You can forget that it was written in 79, 80. It's definitely Could have been written in '56 or that sort of period. Then we got my favourite song ever by the Stray Cats, the Stray Cat Strut. Lee's bass line is fantastic. The little bit of drumming and the singing on this is just brilliant. I love the guitar solo on this. It is my favourite track, without a doubt. Then we have Crawl Up and Die. Really good middle of the road. Some great playing on here. Fantastic track. And the next track is Double Talking Baby, which has already been mentioned on the Rockabilly Classic albums, because it's a track off the very first album we looked at, Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps, and it's a brilliant version of it, as good as Gene Vincent's. Brilliant track. Then we have a track called My One Desire. Now this is written by Dorsey Burnett, again someone else we've looked at, his brother Johnny Burnett, and this was a song that he wrote for Rick Nelson in 1961. This is a great version of this song. I love Rick Nelson's version, but this is great, written of course by the great Dorsey Burnett. Then we have Wild Saxophone. Okay, this is a cover of Montrell's Mellow Saxophone, but renamed Wild Saxophone, and it's got Gary Barnett. It's an absolute cracker. I mean, the original's good, but they've just beefed it up. No wonder they called it Wild. And Gary does a great job on the sax. Great track to end the album. This album was very successful, and it's sort of for the revival. Peaked at number 6 and produced 3 top 10 hits for them. And then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame later listed Rock This Town as one of the best 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. That's not too bad. This album was only issued in the United States after the success of the first American album, Built for Speed, which is another great album. Sorry. So yeah, we will be doing a Stray Cat full album ranking. Trust me. So how did it do in the charts? Well, it got to number 6 here, number 3 in Sweden, number 2 in New Zealand, Australia 41, but nothing in America, which is really bizarre, isn't it? Certifications: platinum in New Zealand and gold here, although it sold more copies here in the UK. Platinum in New Zealand, because it's a very small place, it was different, but a gold disc on their debut. What did Lee say about this? He said it's just a very important album to him personally. It really got him into the Rockabilly Revival, and he considers this to be one of the greatest Rockabilly albums of all time. And this is where he was 13, 14 like me, and then he really started diving back into old Rockabilly at this time as well. And I have to agree with Lee. This is a great Rockabilly album. I remember this coming out. When your dad likes it, I had this on cassette for years. I've got it on my iPod, but I would like a proper recording of it now on an album. I love this album. It's got every track is great. Was one of them great albums, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So there we go. I must thank Lee for this. It's been a really good idea. Lee's his knowledge of Rockabilly is far better than mine, and it's great to have someone who knows a bit more about it, and he's chose 4 great albums. So thank you very much, Lee. Okay, next week, during the month of March, we're going to look at something else, which you'll find out. And then, in April, we are starting a new show. Yes. We're going to put classic albums to bed. Because, to be quite honest, I'm running out of ideas. And again, Lee came up with an idea, and I mulled it over with Dave, and we thought it was such a brilliant idea. We're going to run with it. So I'll tell you more about that in the next few weeks. But that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow, and it's Ladies' Day already. Can't believe that. But tomorrow we've got an album ranking of one of the most important all-female bands that come out of America, the Go-Go's. And we're going to do a little bit of classical music tomorrow for retro ranking. We're going to look at the fine talent of the... She's British with a Singapore background. And it's the wonderful Vanessa May, who brought classical and pop together to form this great sound. So that's all tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.